listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power, absolute power in truth and Power Talks. Welcome. Welcome to Power Talks. I'm Beth Ann, and say good morning to my partner, Melody, as we co-host together and empower you with the truth. Good morning, Melody.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Beth. I hope all is well today on this TGIF.
And I have breaking news for the listeners.
Okay.
Melody found out what I did last Friday when she wasn't here, and she agreed that it's a good thing, so we're having Open Mic Friday again. Woo-hoo! Open Mic Friday, 717-300-1218. Did I get that right? 717-300-1218. You did approve, right, Melody?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. It's too late now because I already opened the mic up.
And, maybe we'll offer an incentive.
Ooh.
But you have to call first to find out what that incentive will be. How's that? How's that for an incentive?
And I have to start out with, what do they call it? I have to say I was wrong yesterday about National Coffee Day.
No,
yesterday was not National Coffee Day. Today's National Coffee Day. Today is. So if you go any place, anywhere, they're giving discounts on coffee. I don't know if they're giving free coffee anywhere, but if you popped in here, I'd give you a free cup of coffee. I have coffee. But Melody just found out, she hasn't heard this yet, but she just found out a little something about her partner. I like poetry, and every now and then I write some. And I wrote this about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's called, guess what the title is? Coffee Time. Coffee with a friend is a beautiful thing. To sip in conversation over almost anything. They enjoy the aroma and the warmth of the brew. However, the cup of joy in Java is just an excuse to bring the secret pleasures of the time well used, to join the warmth and trust of friendship that is true. Friends share more than conversation and coffee. True friends share their hearts and their souls.
Oh, very lovely.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I might have to publish that.
You're a poet. Send it to Dunkin' Donuts and see if they can't use it on their advertisements. Copyright it.
They need to be paying us for advertising.
Well, they would pay you. Copyright it and tell them you'll let them use it if they, for a certain price. But very nice. My coined phrase is that coffee, besides being the brew that is true, that's actually off of a movie that I saw, not the coffee part, but the brew that is true. But coffee is the true nonpartisan brew. It really is. Okay, we're done with coffee now. Well, we're done talking about coffee. We're never done with coffee. Well, I guess I just need to learn how to start lightening up. And, after 25 years of doing news about gold and the fundamentals and so forth, it does take you to a place that is, a very, you discover things. You discover how our country is run, and things that you believed in are no longer true, and you adjust all your thinking, and you adjust your, and as we say a lot on what I say a lot on this program, truth is not always fun. When it changes your thinking, it changes your ideas, it changes a lot. It changes the way you do things. And so spending 25 plus years seeking the truth, this program kind of should help me lighten up a little bit.
That's why you chose me for a partner, isn't it?
No.
Of course, if you'd heard me yesterday, I was near tears in my show because we were talking about the 40 days of life, which is right now going across this nation in about, I can't remember how many she said, 375 cities where they're marching for life in front of the Planned Parenthoods.
And these women and men that are doing this, they are very well trained in how to behave themselves and how to relate to these women that are in a desperate situation and being taken advantage of by Planned Parenthood. And so they are in that. And I interviewed a woman that I met here in Missouri that is doing that, and she was talking about since they have been doing this, they have saved 13,000 lives, 13,000 babies. But it's a 40-day walk for life, and they just walk in front and pray. They fast and pray while they're doing that. I don't think they fast the full 40 days, but they fast while they are marching and praying in front of the Planned Parenthoods. So I was near tears. So it was a heavy show for me yesterday, so I'm not always light.
And we have our first caller today. We have Arthur in Illinois.
Arthur, how are you today?
Good morning. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
The suspense is killing me. What's the incentive?
You get to talk to us.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's better than all the money in the world. Okay, I'll go for that. That's cool.
See, I have a little levity in me.
There you do.
So I got suckered in, huh?
No. Hey, why don't you give us a call at 800-375-4188 after the program, and I'll tell you what your incentive was.
Uh-oh.
Okay, all right.
So make sure you call me. Make sure you call me.
I will. So how are you ladies this morning?
Just fantastic. Thank you.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. We got a beautiful day over here in Illinois, nice and sunny and cold. It's real nice. So, no hurricanes.
We've got sunshine here. It's a little nippy this morning, but it's not going to be that way all day. It's going to warm up to, I think, in the 80s, so it's not too bad. Well, Arthur, thank you.
They're saying we're going to get a rough fall. We'll see. So,
yeah.
Hey, Arthur?
Yes.
You still there? Did you hear the breaking? There's some more breaking news today.
Oh, no. Okay.
There's some more breaking news. The police departments nationwide, they're going to replace their sirens, and they're going to replace it with the national anthem so suspects will stop and take a knee.
Oh, see, she's lightening up. We're getting to her.
Maybe we'll just
I know what I wanted to say about. You never got around to watch. You never watched that video? You know who's in that Sailor Ring video? Alex Jones is in there. Joyce Riley's in there. Austin Green's in there. Edward Griffin's in there. It's a very awesome video. And I don't know where they got the World War II footage in there. I've never seen that footage before.
I don't know.
Okay.
But make sure you give us a call, 800-375-4188 in an hour, Arthur. And ask
you got it, Melody.
All right,
ladies, you have a good day.
Thank you, Arthur. Have a great weekend. We have Neil from Missouri on the line. Neil, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm just calling about about this issue on the truth. Like most people, you all are confusing truth with facts. You know, facts are things that are. Truth is only defined one way, and that's in Psalms 119, verse 142 in the Bible. And that's the only truth there is in the universe. And that's God's law. It says, thy law is the truth. And that's all there is.
I agree with that.
And so if people want to know the truth, they better start studying God's law, because that's the only alternative to the satanic system of government that we live in on this planet now. That's what's running the planet. All the forms of government on this planet are satanic, every one of them, because they don't live by the truth, which is the laws of God. The laws which this country were founded on. And it's the premise upon which the Constitution is based. Without the laws of God, the Constitution is not going to work.
And
we agree with you.
When Benjamin Franklin was asked, what kind of government have you given us? He said, we have given you a constitutional republic, but it will only work for a Christian people.
That's right.
Earlier in this week we talked about the election of Judge Roy Moore. Today, Patrick Buchanan comments on Judge Moore and God's law. And this is going to be, I'm going to put it in my newsletter for Monday, because it really is important. This is what we've talked about. And Pat Buchanan writes about Judge Moore that he believes that man-made law must conform to the laws of nature and nature of God, as written in Jefferson's Declaration of Independence. If a law contradicts God's law, it is invalid, non-binding. In some cases, civil disobedience, deliberate violation of such law may be the moral duty of a Christian. Roy Moore believes God's law is even above the Constitution. And so to have a man like Roy Moore get into the cesspool of Washington, it is really important. So the people of that state needs to make sure that he does beat out his Democratic competitor, and we do need to send him and to Washington. So, and this is how we do change things, by getting people like Roy Moore elected. It's a start.
Absolutely. It's a great start. And some of them that were against him, they made the comments that he bucked the system as far as he ignored some of the federal judges when they were saying things. I'm sure they're going back to the removal of the Ten Commandments when he refused to obey that. And so, yeah, Neil, we don't disagree with you. We agree with you 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, Neil. We appreciate the call.
Sure.
And did you have something else? I'm sorry.
Just one thing. One thing that people can do as individuals is start challenging these unconstitutional and satanic laws that are on the books in this country. But to do that, you have to know what the laws of God say. When you walk into that courtroom, I'll tell you what puts the fear of God in these judges. When you walk in that courtroom, you throw that Bible down there and you start quoting the laws of God out of the Bible. Says, I'm not doing that, Judge. You can't force me to do that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to obey that law because God says so right here. And then you quote it to them out of the Bible. That freaks them out. They hate that. I've been called a Pharisee more than once in the courtroom by a judge. And because, that doesn't apply. I said, it does apply here, Judge. First Amendment says so. You can't tell me that I can't come in here and quote the Bible to you or use the Bible as a defense in this courtroom because the First Amendment guarantees my right to do so. And really, it is really the only authority we have that we can cite when we go into that courtroom to challenge these corrupt laws that they have on the books. And there are millions of them. There's over 4 million laws in what they call laws, just rules and regulations in this country. 99% of which are unconstitutional and satanic. So people need to get into that book and start studying what the law really is and start using it in the courtrooms.
I agree.
All right, Neil, make sure you give me a call at 800-375-4188 after the program today.
Okay, will do.
She's got incentives going.
Okay, thank you much.
Bye.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, Neil.
What's that number again?
To call, 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. It is Open Mic Day, Open Mic Friday. We believe that your voice needs to be heard, and we're opening the mic, and it's going into a weekend. I wanted to share something with you, Melody, because as you were talking about and gave your joke, which I just love that. I'm going to use that this weekend. I have family coming in, and they really don't love their mother's corny jokes, but I give it to them anyway. But this is a verse out of a song, and I don't think you're as heavy as you claim you are, but it is hard when we go through the news day in and day out not to become heavy-hearted. But, as Neil says, the truth is in the Lord, and that's where our happiness and our joy is.
Absolutely.
From inside. But it says you've got to accent the positive. Accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In-Between. I'd sing it to you if I could this morning. I'm not in very good. I couldn't remember the tune. Accent the positive. Anyway, okay.
Eliminate the negative.
Oh, we're going to lose our show. Don't mess with Mr.
Thank goodness we're going into a break.
We are. I didn't hear the music. He was playing. He was letting us be the music. We are going into a break. It is Open Mic Friday. Your calls are welcome. We'll talk about almost anything you want to talk about at 877. I'm sorry, wrong number. 717-300-1218. 717-300-1218.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the left behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. I thought we returned 5 seconds ago. I was already doing my spill. You're listening to Power Talks with Beth and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning. We're going to go to Phyllis in Ohio. Phyllis, how are you today?
I'm great, Beth Ann. Good morning, Melody and Beth Ann. I hope you both are doing well today. Melody, I've spoken to you a couple times, but I've never called in. But today seemed to be a good time. As the fellow was talking about the Constitution, about God's law, about nature, nature's God, and the Constitution, we have to talk about common law. And it's very simple, and that is do no harm to a man or a man's property. That's very simplistic, but however, that's pretty much what it is. So therefore, the government cannot bring a case against an individual. An individual can bring a case against another individual, such as if you steal my horse, I know you did, I told you to bring it back and you don't, well then I can take you to court because I probably can prove that that's my horse, unless you decide to use some paint or something and recolor the thing. So it also applies when it comes to rights to have your own animals and to raise them the way you see fit. It covers everything. And it takes the government out of the enforcement or out of being your daddy. That's pretty much all I have to say, unless there's something else that you'd like to add or have any questions.
I guess it's very similar to, common law marriage is the same thing, isn't it? I mean, is that sort of what you're referencing?
No, not common law marriage. It would be...
But it's still common law. I mean, the common law is the reference there.
Right, exactly. So if you get married, you don't have the government involved. Therefore, there's no need for having necessarily birth certificates unless you decide. Apparently, in the old days, they used to have a family Bible, and they'd enter the people's names that were born. When someone passed away, when they died, they'd enter their name. And when someone married somebody else, they'd do the same thing. So really, the government was not involved, and there was no licensing. There was nothing really that was involved the government at all. So.
And it was and you were just as married in that as well. And when they put it down in the family Bible, it was a done deal. You didn't have to pay the state for a license and get married. And of course, that started way back when. And of course, that was when the government wanted to control who married who. And that was at that time that was a racial issue. They wanted to control intermarriages, and they decided to start licensing people. And then when I was young, got married, you had the blood test. They don't do that anymore. And so it's I agree with you, Phyllis.
Well, thank you, Beth Ann. Melody, have a great day. Beth Ann, have a great day. That's really, I think, what we need to get back to. We also need to get back to state citizens, which we really don't have anymore. Whenever you fill out an application or do anything, it's always, are you a United States citizen? Well, really, when it comes right down to it, considering that the states formed the federal government, but not for what it's doing, it actually is time to get back to states' rights, and the states can stop. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Here's how it was set up. God created man, so God is first, man is second. Man created the state, so the state is third. The state created the federal government, and that is the bottom of the totem pole, not the top. But that's why the federal government, or those powers that be that we have elected, all the bad guys, that they want to flip that around and they want to take God out of everything because they don't want you to look to God. They want you to look to government. And we have got it inside, outside, upside down. I get to get that book. It's a Berenstein Bears book I used to read to my kids when they were little. Inside, outside, upside down. And that's the way we are in this nation. We have lost our way because we have fallen away from God. Phyllis, thank you so much for your call. Appreciate
and make sure you call Discount Gold and Silver. In fact, I told the gals at the office, instead of waiting until after the program, that's why I was a little late coming back, instead of waiting until after the program, you can go ahead and give them a call now.
Well, Ms. Melody, just having the opportunity to put out some information is obviously definitely a plus, and so I really appreciate your incentive. However, I think there should be incentive for everybody to act and to take some action here instead of sitting around and waiting.
Well, God bless you.
Educate and activate. But go ahead and call 1-800-375-4188. Phyllis, do that, okay? We appreciate your call.
Thank you very much, and God bless.
Amen. You know, we have good people in this country.
We do.
We really do. And they are the forgotten men and women, and they are the ones that their voices don't get heard, and that's one reason we like open mic. I do that same thing on Fridays on CSC Talk Radio. I just open up the microphone and I just let them just get it off your chest and do whatever, to not everything. I don't let them talk about everything, but almost everything. I don't deny them very often.
I was going to say there
are some limits to what we will say, what we can say on the air, or what Beth will listen to. But it's I like, these calls have been positive.
Absolutely.
They've pointed out negative, but they've concentrated on the positive. It does no good for us to sit and drink our coffee and talk about everything that's bad going on if we don't have a solution. And, of course, the solution is very simple, and the solution is we do all need to take a knee before God.
Absolutely.
And that is the solution, and yet that's so simple and so difficult to for people to understand that that's what's missing. We've elected lost people that are chasing after wealth and power, and they're not going after what is best for the people. They're not representing we the people. And the only way to change that is for we the people to take action. You have a republic if you can keep it. We're the ones that let it fall. We can blame all the elected officials, but how did they get there? We put them there. Anyway, I appreciate the callers. I do.
Absolutely.
They encourage me when they do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a little article someone might want to comment about. It's the Department of Justice announced yesterday that it has filed a lawsuit against a Colorado corporation for allegedly discriminating against U.S. workers. The complaint alleges that in 2016, Crop Productions discriminated against at least 3 U.S. citizens by refusing to employ them as seasonal technicians in El Campo, Texas. And because Crop Production preferred to hire temporary foreign workers under the H-2A visa program. And this is in the spirit of President Trump's executive order, an executive order on Buy American and Hire American. The Department of Justice will not tolerate employers who discriminate against U.S. workers because of desire to hire temporary foreign visa holders. Where there is a job available, U.S. workers should have a chance at it before we bring in workers from abroad. This is the first complaint filed stemming from the Protecting U.S. Workers initiative. So, are we all in agreement that these persons should be file a lawsuit against? And what happens with the H-2A visa programs? Is that going to be extended over to the IT companies, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Apples, who they encourage these visa programs to get skilled workers? You can't tell me that they're not discriminating against United States citizens, that they prefer. So a lot of questions here, and but I thought this was an interesting article, and I thought report, and if y'all would like to comment on it, 717-300-1218.
Yeah, 717-300-1218. I can't remember. We do have a caller, and we're going to go to him in just a second. I can't remember what it's called. And this happened years ago when you and I were young, because of the discrimination with race in jobs.
Affirmative action.
Well, I was thinking it was before the affirmative action. But there were lawsuits going on over that. How is this any different other than I just hate lawsuits? I just hate them. They're constantly going on, and they're just a waste of money. But
I do believe,
because we are becoming the discriminated against. The citizens are discriminated against, and I don't know that we're truly the minority now, but we are becoming that way.
I do believe if you have a company and they hire illegal aliens, yes, I believe they should be fined. I should believe they should be held accountable for hiring illegal aliens. That goes without being said. And I remember I used to do payroll for a Chinese restaurant. They had over 100 employees. And I can remember when the immigration people were coming to investigate. This goes back to Arizona, back in the late 80s, that, they'd get a phone call. Management would get a phone call. Immigration's coming. The immigration's coming in the front door, and everybody else was going out the back door. They'd leave one or two just for, just for this, just so there was something there.
Were these illegal, or were they legal with visas? No, not the Chinese restaurant, the one that they're having the suit over. Were they illegal or were they visas?
These were visas.
Okay, so they're not illegal. They were here
illegal. No.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go to Joe. Let's go to Joe in Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm enjoying this best holiday of the year, National Coffee Day.
Thank you.
Now that's the holiday really worth celebrating.
Beans are a vegetable, right? So I'm drinking my vegetables.
Well, they say coffee is good for you. There's always a new study coming out saying that coffee is good for you, probably paid for by the coffee industry. But anyway, that story you were talking about, I'll make my comment on this. And that seems to me that it doesn't seem right to me for businesses to be, tasked by the government with the job of enforcing immigration laws. Like, I think we should have immigration laws, and I think the government should enforce them strictly. And I think it's the job of the federal government to strictly enforce immigration laws, and they shouldn't be letting a lot of foreigners in here to take jobs. If Americans don't have enough jobs and so on like that, they shouldn't be letting a lot of foreigners in here to compete with Americans too much. But all that said, if somebody comes to an employer for a job, I think the employer should be able to assume that the federal government is doing their job enforcing the immigration laws, and that anybody that comes to them for a job, is in the country. It's okay for them to be in the country because the federal government isn't kicking them out, and they should be able to hire whoever they think is best for the job. It shouldn't be their job to do the federal government's job and enforce immigration laws. That's how I really feel about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Beth?
Thank you.
And,
I don't disagree. They used to, and it's not been that, well, I guess it has been that long ago because I had to do it when I was getting a job when I was in my, I think, 20s and 30s. But you had to fill out a paper saying that when you applied for a job or when you finally got the job and you filled out all your paperwork, one of those things you filled out was that you were a citizen. You were not an alien. I don't think they do that anymore, and I think that would have been...
You still have to prove that you're a citizen, but that doesn't mean anything anymore to those who hire the illegals.
Well, I guess.
That's the problem.
If they're going to cheat,
they're going to cheat.
That's like the bad guys having guns, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Something else I wanted to comment on. That wasn't really the reason I called. But yesterday I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, and he was talking about the trickle-down economic idea. And he was, and he talks as if the super rich that invest huge amounts of money, they are the foundation and mainstay and main support of the economy. And the economy, we couldn't have an economy without them. And he gave the example of Apple Computer Company investing $5 billion in a new factory. And he says, of course, this is going to be an economic benefit because they're going to employ a lot of construction workers and everything to build the factory, and then they're going to employ a lot of people to work in the factory and so on like that. That's true. But I thought that before Apple can have $5 billion to invest in a new factory, before money can trickle down from somebody super rich like Apple, first the money has to trickle up to Apple from all these millions of ordinary people, that had to have a job that doesn't make them super rich, but that pays them something of a living wage, and from all the small business people that might not be super successful and super rich, but they've got a going business. First the money has to trickle up from those people who buy the Apple products before Apple can have billions of dollars to invest in a new factory. So really, the main foundation of the economy is not the super rich like Apple, from whom some money trickles down, but the foundation of the economy is all the regular people that have small businesses and have a decent paying job and so on like that, from whom money trickles up to the super rich.
It takes, they didn't become super rich without the rest of us buying or people working for them. But it does take these entrepreneurs that invent things or that take a step out there and start a business and hire people. And that's what the cycle is, and it keeps America going. And I don't think we should hate the rich. I hope when I'm rich nobody hates me, Melody. But I don't think we should hate the rich. But I think a lot of the laws have been leaning toward helping them rather than helping the middleman or the lower man on the totem pole. And that's kind of simplistically put. But I agree with you, Joe. I agree. It takes everybody. Them alone are not what makes it. Everybody makes it.
It's proven trickle-down doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Show me, sure, you're going to have you can have temporary signs of growth and so forth. But and we saw it with Reagan, his trickle-down. He did all these tax cuts. It worked for a year and a half. But when you're already in a poor economy, it's not going to be a long-term solution to the problems that we have. I don't have a problem with people making money. In fact, yesterday I was doing some, just doing some research and so forth, and I thought to myself, I wonder if there's something that's called a patriotic billionaire, and who would be classified as a patriotic billionaire? Would I have a problem? Yes.
I get emails from a group that calls themselves patriotic millionaires.
Mm-hmm. There is such a...
There is such a group. Oh, okay. I thought you were asking. Well, there is such a group because I'm getting emails from them, and they're
I'm talking
not
about
really
billionaires. And I don't consider, because yesterday we were talking about the death tax and so forth, and that's why I was just doing some additional research and so forth. And patriotic billionaires, they used Warren Buffett. I mean, he has complained that he pays lower taxes than his secretary. He's willing to pay more taxes, but the loopholes are there that allows him that he doesn't have to. And that
he doesn't have to take those loopholes.
Well,
and there is a spot on your income tax where you can volunteer to give X amount of dollars.
Well, you can. I'm just telling you what this patriotic billionaires, what the definition was, and it was the same for the patriotic millionaires. Now, I don't consider people who have $4, $5, $6, $7 million a threat to this country. They're the ones that are probably more beneficial to this country than those who have 50 and 100 plus million and billions of dollars, because once you get that amount of money, then that money really does work against your country. And it has worked against our country. It's their philosophies. It's their, they want more power, more money. And when you have these billionaires and they say money doesn't make a difference, it's a lot more to it than just the money. It becomes more of a, it's the getting of the money. It's not the money, it's the getting of the money. It's the challenges to get more. That breeds, and I use Zuckerberg as an example. He wants to start running for presidents. He wants to have the universal income implemented here in the United States. And they have their socialistic, communistic ideas and views that, over a period of time, they have destroyed our values and I believe the multinational corporations in bed with government. I wanted Donald Trump as a president, not because he was a businessman, because I do believe he can make quick decisions. And I think in times of distress, this country needs quick decisions. But I didn't like having a businessman because that's part of our problem. And so...
Well, we hire career politicians instead of statesmen, and it is a business. Politics is a business. They no longer consider themselves public servants. They no longer want to serve the American people or the Constitution.
No.
Or God. They no longer believe in any of that, and I think I told this story already a few weeks ago that when I had Joe the plumber on the show, he talked about when he was traveling around. They snatched that boy up. They snatched that man up, and decided to make a poster child out of him. And that was when McCain and Sarah Palin were running for president against President Barack Obama. And he asked him, when he was traveling with John McCain, he asked him how long he'd been a public servant, and John McCain got offended by that comment, by that title. So that tells you where the elite's heart is, and it certainly isn't with the people.
It isn't. And look where the wealthiest is. Their positions on their commissions in Washington, and the I used to think they got there because it was tenure or something. No, they just buy their way into their positions. Paul Ryan, how did he get his position? He wasn't voting. He bought his position. They buy their positions with how much money, like his position might cost $20 million. So if he has $20 million, he buys that position. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with, their heart to America or, their abilities. It's all about money, and And I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, yes, I knew money played a part, but I didn't know they actually, quote unquote, bought and paid for their positions. And
well, basically, that's what they all do. Now, he's not a senator, but he's a representative. But the senators, I mean, look what Hillary did. She goes to New York. She never lived in New York.
No.
She goes to New York and she buys the Senate seat. Basically, the more money you got, the more apt you are. I mean, I don't know if they physically buy it, but
they physically
got a shoe in.
buy it. Now, well, maybe not her position as being a senator, but the speakers and all the various committees, the speakers, the committees, the committee heads, the committee members, and so forth. They buy their positions.
Yeah.
And if they want a position and they don't have the money to, if it costs $5 million and they only have 3, they are committed to sit down and make phone calls to generate money. They get a list. They cold call. It really is amazing. It truly is amazing.
And the American people are oblivious to it. I mean,
totally.
We keep. It's the marvel of all history is the patience with which men and women will submit to burdens unnecessarily laid upon them by their governments. And that is a quote from George Washington. And oh my goodness, are we not there? Look what we're putting up with. And we have been a patient people. And, I think we're losing our patience, and that's what we're seeing happening. And especially with this thing with the NFL and this kneeling and not kneeling, and that is not, while they want us to believe it's racially motivated and it's against the President of the United States, it's against all of the United States. And when Kaepernick did it, it was against the United States because he's a communist and he worships Castro. That's what he's pushing. So it isn't,
And the rest of the football players, they're just so ignorant that
they're constantly
doesn't take high
drugs.
It doesn't take high IQs to become a football player. And I don't mean that in a nasty way, but
they're known for their strength.
They're known for
their brawn. But some of them are. Some of them do go on.
Quarterbacks usually were always the ones that had the higher IQs, but anyway.
Well, I don't think they're all low IQ, but I think that America in general, that generation that I call them young, that generation, they don't understand who we are, where we come from. They do not understand rule of law. They do not understand the Constitution, and they have lost their moral way because they haven't been raised with morals. Most of those men don't even have a father. Their fathers left their mothers, and it's become the way of life, and it's happening with all races, not just the black race. We're not picking on one race. I'm picking on all of us here in the United States that have fallen away from God. And that's
I hear
what
the
we
music.
see. I do too. The breaking down of the family. Weak families make a weak nation. We are going into a break. It is Open Mic Day. 717-300-1218 is the number to call to join Beth Ann and Melody, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Today's show, and it is an open mic day. Your calls are welcome. We'll talk about almost anything you want to talk about. It's 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. Melody started us out with a teaser, and she wants to comment on that just a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that those who called do call the 800-375-4188. Just tell Carla that you called into the Power Talks program, and I told you to call because... Well, you know, now I don't want you out there who didn't call and say you called.
Yeah, I've got the names written down.
I'm just teasing. But those who did call today, we do appreciate it, and we currently have a caller. I didn't want you all calling right at the same time, right after the program. So go ahead and give us a call now. We have Rob in Illinois calling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Rob. How are you today?
Very good, ladies. Thank you. I wasn't going to call in this morning, but you brought up the NFL thing. You guys got to know that starting with Kaepernick, his influence to what he started doing had to do with his girlfriend, who is Nessa Diab, Nessa. She goes by Nessa mainly. And she was born in Egypt. She was raised Muslim, lived in Saudi Arabia. She is here in the United States. She went to UC Berkeley, from my understanding. I can't confirm that right at this minute, but I understand she went to UC Berkeley. She is not only a Black Lives Matter supporter, but an influencer, a promoter. She is deep into Islam, and she's a very pretty lady, beautiful if you may. So she is the influence behind Kaepernick, and she gets with this guy who has this national stage, you know, NFL, football, in front of all these people. She is the influence behind this guy that actually started this whole deal. And what you're basically looking at is the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood and Islam. And then, of course, you got the NFL and the virtue signaling and so on and so forth. So basically we have the influence of Islam happening here. And that's where it's all at. People, you got to nail the source.
Yep.
Go ahead.
It is a divide and conquer. And, yeah, I know that I'd heard that, too, that she was the main influence. And that doesn't excuse him. In my book, that doesn't excuse him. Just because you got bad friends doesn't mean you can, my mother used to say, if they jumped off a cliff, would you jump off the cliff too? And so he makes no bones about being a Castro supporter. And so his protest was about protesting the United States government, not so much one thing or the other, although he did wear his socks that had the Black Lives Matter. I've talked about, it was actually cops was derogatory towards police officers, and it's a bad deal what's going on. But again, it goes back to what some of the callers said previously. It goes back to a lack of God in our lives, and it starts at each individual life. Everything starts at home. Kaepernick, I think, had a good upbringing. I don't know what his upbringing was, but I'm sure they didn't bring him up to be a communist, but I'm not positive of that. I mean, they could have. I mean, we have others like that are in this nation. But it's a lack and it's a missing. People are not relying on God, and that's what's going on. And appreciate the call, Rob. Melody?
I mean, I agree with him. I mean, there is a lot of influence coming from that direction in this country, and it's sort of covered up. And I agree, we have to look at the whole picture and see the influences and because and we're seeing this everywhere in various. We were just talking about there's is it a governor's race where the gentleman is Muslim. And, we do have to look at this as, we have to look at where we are right now. I mean, Islam is the third largest religion in the United States.
Yeah.
And and with their belief in the Sharia law and how they slowly and gradually change and get into, hey, they're just as patient as the New World Order. And, they get into the little areas in these cities and these states, and, they're a little mayor of a little town, and the next thing they grow to, the governor in various other parts, and they just, come up into the system, and then they get to the point where they can make changes. And
and they cannot honestly take the oath of office.
They shouldn't, but
are they take the oath of office and claim that they will uphold and defend the Constitution if they truly believe in Sharia law, because they are not compatible.
But how many do you believe that they're not willing to
lie
in order to get to the positions, in order so they can change what they view as wrong?
Well, my comment was for the people. They need to look at it that way and not vote them in. And I'm not trying to be a prejudiced person. I'm trying to be I'm trying to be honest about it. They cannot take an oath for one thing if they say they believe in another.
Something else.
It's just not going to work. They're not compatible.
So
they're free to have their faith. That's freedom of religion here in this nation, but they are not necessarily free to practice Sharia law when it goes against the Constitution.
Correct.
You can't go chopping off people's hands. You can't do it.
No. And you hear all the time about, you have your little communities and so forth that they, within their little communities they practice the Sharia law, and that's wrong. Look at England. They have their first their first Muslim mayor.
Worked out real well, hasn't it?
Yeah. And and when I visited England, I don't know, 6 years ago, I guess it was, that was the one thing that most of the people that I talked to was like, yeah, we're getting a big presence here. The people themselves weren't happy about it. But buildings were being bought, the motels were being bought. It was a huge influx. And when we think of, Muslims taking over a country, people think of refugees. No, they're a little bit more than that. They're wealthy business people that are coming in and buying up the properties, that are buying up the various positions in government. And there was one that was elected as mayor. So ultimately, it's not going to work well for them. They did vote on Brexit to pull England voted to pull them out of the European Union, and so we'll have to see how that unfolds for them and how that unfolds for the European other nations. So that's another story. That's another day. But
it is. There's just so much going on, and we've kicked this protest at the NFL down the road so much. And you know, you remember the Steven Seagal movies? Well, he's declared war against them. And we've got other people talking about the protest, and you know, it's a distraction. It is a shame. And the NFL, like I've said, the deplorables made them, and they will break them. They're not going to. The average American people are not going to put up with that stuff. They're done with it. And I guess they didn't take too many knees yesterday when they had the Thursday night football. I didn't watch it, but they were talking about it on the news. Lou Dobbs was saying his wife wouldn't let him even take a peek. He wanted to see because it was his team playing. He wanted to take a peek and see if they were winning.
I peeked.
You peeked. You know, and I'm sitting here, I'm a Chiefs fan. They're finally having a good year, and I'm not watching. It's like, oh my gosh.
Well, I think this weekend will be more of a tell-all, but they did stand, but they locked arms. Mm-hmm. And there were several who did put their hand over their heart, even though they were locked arms. But they also asked the audience, the fans, to stand and lock arms. And the report was about 95% of them did not lock arms. They're not going to go along with it. They stood with their hands over their hearts and they sang along. So what I'd like to see at some of these events is to have people that really can sing the anthem. Just sing it the way it's supposed to be sung.
I'm a singer, and when you sing the national anthem, it's supposed to be about the national anthem, not you.
Oh, it's just because
it's supposed to be about it. I always invite everyone to sing along when I do it, and of course they get on to me. They go, yeah, but then you pick a high key and we can't sing. But it's it's not supposed to be how you can reinterpret the music to your own liking. It's supposed to be about the song and about the nation and about the people. Melody, you have a great weekend. Listeners, we love you. Thank you for calling in today. Be sure to call at 1-800-375-4188 if you were a caller to get your surprise. And if you weren't, call it anyway and see what Melody can do for you there at Discount Gold and Silver Trading. And we will see you on Monday.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.